Good afternoon, everybody from Paris. My name's Nicholas Howarth. I'm lead author of the Energy Efficiency Market Report 2021. I'm delighted to be with you here to present some of its main findings. In this year's market report, we focus on three main themes. Firstly, where are we now in terms of recent trends across a range of energy efficiency indicators and policies? We provide a special focus on the IEA's landmark Net Zero by 2050 roadmap, released earlier this year, and examine key energy efficiency milestones that are needed to achieve climate objectives. We also look at the game-changing potential of digital energy efficiency markets and how they are already being used to expand what is possible through energy efficiency. Obviously, in today's overview, we'll only be providing some of the highlights, and we invite you to view the report, which has been made freely available online. And for those of you who have perhaps reviewed some of the material already, we can explore some of the broader issues in discussion and Q&A later. So first, looking at recent trends in energy efficiency markets. Our first message is that energy efficiency progress, as measured by the improvement in the energy intensity of the global economy, recovered in 2021 to its 10-year average of around 1.9%. 2020 was one of the worst years ever for energy intensity improvement, as the balance of economic activity shifted away from less energy intensive services such as hospitality and tourism, and technical efficiency enhancements also slowed. While it's good to see intensity trends get back on track this year, there is still some way to go to align with climate targets. With the rate of improvement needing to double over the next 10 years on average to be consistent with a 4.2% annual improvement that would align with the IEA's net zero by 2050 scenario. 2021 also saw investment in energy efficiency rise by 10% to almost $300 billion due to government recovery spending and broader economic recovery. Of particular note, over the last 2 years, investment in the energy efficiency of buildings reached record levels, rising by 20% compared with 2019. This includes spending on appliances as well as new buildings and building retrofit. This growth was centered in Europe, where governments have scaled up existing energy efficiency programs to strong effect. However, to be consistent with the IEA net zero by 2050 scenario, this level of overall investment will need to triple by 2030. What's particularly noteworthy in this year's report is the prominent role that efficiency is playing in government clean energy and sustainable recovery spending. Over the next 3 years of announced spending plans, energy efficiency makes up around 2/3 of total annual spending, or around $260 billion out of the total $400 billion that has been tracked by the IEA's Sustainable Recovery Tracker. However, this spending is regionally unbalanced and concentrated in regions and countries such as the European Union, the United States, Japan, Korea, Canada, and Australia. There's still much more potential to scale up energy efficiency spending and investment, including by strengthening efficiency requirements in the industrial sector through modernization, as well as new housing plans. One of the reasons why energy efficiency features so prominently in these sustainable recovery plans is that it's one of the best clean energy measures for quickly scaling up local long-term employment. Scaling up energy efficiency investment to the levels in the IEA net zero by 2050 scenario would add an extra 4 million jobs to the global economy by 2030. Most of these jobs being in the construction and manufacturing sectors. Energy efficiency investment is also popular with policymakers in clean energy recovery packages, as it provides other important social benefits, including lowering energy bills, keeping money in people's pockets, improving comfort and quality of housing, as well as helping modernize and lift competitiveness in industry. Another area we'd like to highlight in this presentation and in the market report is the critical role of appliance standards, where we have gathered new detailed analysis on program effectiveness. Over 120 countries have now implemented or are developing mandatory standards and label programs, and this is over double the number that had such programs only a decade ago. For the longest running programs, energy efficiency has helped reduce the energy consumption of the average appliance in use by over 50% for many appliances. What is equally impressive is that these savings have been delivered at the same time as the average cost of many appliances fell, on average by between 2 to 3% per year, as manufacturers innovated to meet new requirements. Therefore, where efficiency policies are well designed, they can help save consumers money, both on the price of appliances as well as on their running costs. Now let me switch to the second theme in our report, looking at the IEA's net zero by 2050 roadmap. Energy efficiency plays a vital role in the IEA's net zero scenario, with over 40 energy efficiency milestones identified. The important point to note here is that energy efficiency milestones are front-loaded into the period through to 2030, as most of them are highly cost-effective today and can be deployed using existing technologies that are already available on the market. Early action on energy efficiency is crucial to achieving net zero faster, smoother, and at lower cost. In the net zero by 2030 scenario, implementation of these milestones allows the global economy to grow by 40% while using 7% less energy than it does today. These savings are focused in the buildings and transport sectors, where energy consumption falls by 20% and 3% respectively by 2030. Industrial energy consumption rises by 8% through to 2030 in the scenario, taking into account the expansion of steel, cement, and chemical output, which is so vital to support economic development in many countries. Altogether, these milestones and associated energy demand help lift the annual rate of improvement in energy intensity to just over 4% on average over the decade to 2030, an overall fall of 35% compared with 2020 levels. Looking at the sectors in a little more detail, we can see that without the gains from energy efficiency, electrification, and behavior change, total final energy demand would be overall 30% higher by 2030. At the sector level, not meeting the milestones in the scenario would result in industrial energy consumption around 25% higher by 2030 compared to today. For transport, energy consumption of around 50% higher in 2030. And for buildings, energy consumption of around 30% higher by 2030 compared to today. Without these efficiency gains and associated avoided demand, even rapid growth in renewable energy will struggle to replace existing coal, oil, and gas fuel sources. And the energy transition to net zero will be much more difficult, more expensive, take longer, as well as make it more difficult to maintain energy security. It's for these reasons that the IEA calls energy efficiency the very first fuel. The third theme of the market report is on the role of digitalisation and how it is taking energy efficiency to a higher level. I'd now like to hand over to my colleague, Emmy Bertoli. Thank you.
So thank you, Nick. And Emmy Bertoli, and I work at the Energy Efficiency Division at the IEA. So I'm also a contributor of the Energy Efficiency Market Report and working specifically on digitalization. So moving on to the next slide, basically, in our report this year, we are covering a range of interesting market developments in the area of digitalization for energy efficiency. I mean, as we all know, first of all, digitalization is rapidly transforming many aspects of our lives today, including the way that we use energy. And it is doing so by providing us with a better insights and visibility, but also through an increased control of our energy demand. For example, through smart thermostats that can adjust room temperature according to our level of comfort, or through sensors that can detect occupancy of rooms and reduce energy waste by turning off appliances that are not needed. And there are also apps that can suggest the most efficient travel routes, and, for example, building management systems that can continuously collect data and optimize lighting, ventilation, cooling, and heating. So what we're seeing in our analysis this year is that the stock of connected devices that can be used in particular for enhanced control and automation surpassed the number of people on the planet and is expected to reach 9 million by the end of the year. So this stock has grown by an average of 33% per year in the past 5 years. And we can now say that we have an emerging digital infrastructure that can be used to accelerate energy efficiency implementation, but also to expand the scope of energy efficiency across sectors and across systems. And more is expected in the future. For example, smart meter deployment is expected to reach nearly 1.3 billion by 2025 from an installed base of 1 billion in 2019. And home energy management systems market is expected to be valued at $7.7 billion US by 2025. So if we're looking more closely at digital solutions in the energy field, we actually conducted an extensive mapping of energy efficiency potentials that can be enabled by digitalization. And we covered a range of different technologies, such as smart devices in homes, energy monitoring and management systems, or technologies for industrial energy use optimization. And what we can see is that there are variations in achieved savings, as we see here, but we're also seeing that digitalization can increase a lot the energy efficiency potential. So the darker areas here in the graph indicate a higher likelihood of savings in this given range. So implementation to date of digital technologies for efficiency indicates significant saving potentials with energy efficiency reductions in the range of 20 to 30%, being entirely feasible across many end uses. But what we are also seeing is that the bulk of the potential still remains untapped. For example, within the lighting sector, in the case of smart street lighting, we see energy reductions in the region of 40 to 18% compared to conventional lighting. But as of today, only around 10 million smart street lights are deployed globally. And there is an untapped potential to make more than 300 million streetlight poles more smart and efficient. So beyond the use savings, digitalization can also enable the shifting of demand to support efficient power system operation and clean energy transitions, which is extremely important for system stability, resilience, as we continue to move along the trajectory of more decarbonization and electrification. So really sizing this opportunity is critical, since in the net zero scenario, in particular storage and demand response, are expected to provide half of system flexibility needs in 2050, which is a fourfold increase from 2020 levels. So we're also seeing in our analysis that digitalization is creating new business opportunities, and that is opening up for new services and expanding energy efficiency markets. So one of the most interesting indicators of digital energy efficiency innovation is the fast growth of startups and also of early stage venture capital investment. So digital energy efficiency startups now compose almost 2/3 of all energy startups that we mapped. And here in the graph, we're seeing a substantial increase of venture capital flow, especially with early stage venture capital investments in digital energy efficiency startups, totaling $900 million in 2020, which was an increase of 20% from the year before. And our analysis actually indicates that investment will come in at a similar or higher rate this year as well. So furthermore, we're also seeing that significant investment in digital energy efficiency and demand flexibility is coming from large information and technology companies, energy utilities, and even oil companies. So another important aspect is policy action. So while we see promising and positive trends in these areas, there is still a huge need for policy action to create an enabling environment to stimulate further market uptake of digital technologies and to include demand flexibility and intelligent efficiency considerations. So regulation actually must also ensure a readiness to harness digitalization at its best and to ensure that this is done as a part of a coherent strategy. So in 2019, we introduced the Digital Energy Efficiency Policy Readiness Framework to support this process. And this has now been updated to reflect a growing focus on deployment. We're also seeing that there is a need for action to counteract challenges such as interoperability, equitable access, and data protection, but also like to take measure to ensure cyber resilience across devices and systems. And we're also aware that digitalization can help overcome persistent energy efficiency barriers, create new services and new opportunities by accelerating and reducing costs of implementation. However, we are also aware that it is crucial to maintain a focus on people and to secure equitable access to these new services, opportunities, and benefits, including through capacity building, trainings for skills that would fit new job opportunities. And this is the reason why at the IEA, we are increasingly focusing on the human dimension of clean energy transitions. So in the past month, we convened a global commission of 30 government leaders and prominent figures from the private sector, labor, youth, access, and civil society. So the commission looked into the social and economic impacts of the shift to cleaner energy technologies and elaborated 12 key recommendations based on best practices around the world for putting people at the center of transitions. And this was presented in October. So these recommendations focus on aspects related to employment, to development, equity and fairness, as well as active participation. And of course, we invite you all to read and to have a look at the report on our website. So I would like now to move towards the end of this presentation. So I would like to conclude by summarizing the main messages of our report. So as we have seen in the previous slides presented by Nick, the primary energy intensity improvement is expected to recover in 2021 after the worst year in a decade. The IEA net zero scenario sees energy efficiency progress doubling in this decade. And we're also seeing that energy efficiency features strongly in economic recovery measures. But the total investment needs has to be triple in this decade, according to the IEA net zero scenario. So we're still a bit far to where we should be in a way. As we've seen, energy efficiency policies have also proven to be beneficial for people, to create jobs and to lower emissions. But that the scale of energy efficiency recovery energy efficiency and recovery measures is quite high. So this reflects the importance as one of the fastest and most cost-effective ways to reduce emission, to support jobs and economic growth, as well as to strengthen energy security, although more has to be done yet. So an urgent focus on energy efficiency is a vital component of climate action, but in this space, digitalisation can help, and it can contribute to scaling up energy efficiency implementation and to expand the scope of energy efficiency in support of clean energy transition and the integration of higher shares of renewables. And then as a very last point, of course, we really thank you for your attention, and thank again Sam and Hans for the kind invitation to this webinar. We are really happy to answer to your questions in the coming question and answer session. But of course, here you can also find our email contact in case you are interested for a follow-up. And now I will hand the floor back to Hans. Thank you again.